Okay, here we go. So today's video, we are going to be talking about mastering Facebook ads and how do you go from beginner to expert in this one video. And yes, this looks like a pretty bold promise, but by the end of this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly why that's actually possible by just answering and understanding what these subtopics are about, which is what we're going to be doing, showing you at the same time actual examples from actual campaigns that we are running. We've got about 10 plus ad accounts that we run, and we've easily spent well over $1 million across all these different platforms. And today I'm going to be sharing with you like how these accounts and what I've learned rather from spending well over $1 million of my own money, not clients' money, but actually driving traffic to our products, offers, services, and how can you actually scale even if you are a total beginner right now. Okay, are you ready? Let's begin. To kind of start off this training, I'm gonna begin with this framework over here. Okay, now I believe that the framework for mastering Facebook ads, I've kind of divided this into three main parts, which is really the beginner, advanced, and expert. And if you are totally new, we're gonna start off with something as simple as installing a pixel. Okay, now depending on where you're at right now, even if you feel you might be advanced, I am pretty sure that the different things that's going to be covered here at the foundational level, you want to make sure that your entire campaign has got a strong foundation. Okay, so even if you feel you might be an expert or advanced right now, you definitely do not want to skip portions of this video. Okay, so let's talk about the pixel. How do you actually install a pixel, and why would you want to have a pixel? What is the purpose of a pixel? Now, long story short, the purpose of a pixel is really to track the people that's visited your websites, your pages, your funnels, so that you have insight, so that you could create specific ads based on certain actions or inactions of your audience. Now, we'll go deeper into that, but let's talk about how do you actually install a pixel. So this is going to be a very hands-on video training where I'm not just going to be showing you theory, but it's also going to be really tactical. I'm going to be doing, this is an actual screen recording of, and I don't do this a lot, where I actually reveal my campaigns and what it is that we're doing. But to start off, let's talk about pixels. Okay, now what is the purpose of pixel and how do you actually install a pixel? Here's how you do it. So when you go into your ad account, one of the things you will see is you want to have a pixel, and this pixel portion, if you go to your Facebook Ads Manager, is located over here, right, where it says under Events Manager, where it says pixels. Okay, so what you're really doing right now is when you go to your pixel, you can go to setup. You see this where it says setup? I'm just going to zoom in over here. So it's very step by step, super tactical. And the first thing you want to do is you want to install a pixel. And what you're going to do is you're going to select manually install pixel code to website. Okay. And what's going to happen is Facebook will give you this bunch of code over here. Okay. And in one click, you'll be able to copy this entire code that Facebook is giving you, and you can actually post this to your system that you use to publish your pages. So this could be WordPress, this could be Shopify, this could be ClickFunnels, this could be your standard HTML site if you're using that to build your pages, which I would not recommend. So like if you're familiar with my world, the platform that I use to publish all of my pages is ClickFunnels. So I'm going to use this example on ClickFunnels and show you exactly how do you install this pixel. Now, depending on what platform you use, installing this pixel would be slightly different. Now, I'm not going to go through like the dozens of different platforms in existence. But for the sake of simplicity, let's use the example of ClickFunnels. Okay, now all I'm doing right now is I'm going to settings of a certain funnel, which is basically a sales process. And all I'm doing here is under settings, I am going to the part that says head tracking code. Okay, now I know it's a little bit dry over here, but believe me, there's nothing complicated about this. There's no programming involved. And all I'm really doing is I'm taking the code that Facebook is giving me under pixels, and I'm copy and pasting this code inside settings, inside ClickFunnels, and boom. Once I post this over here, what this means is that my entire funnel, my entire website, and all of the pages inside that specific website will now have my tracking code. So whether you are doing this on WordPress, whether you're doing this on Shopify, whether you're doing this on any other platform, just look up how to install Facebook Pixel on platform name, right? And you probably get like 100,000 videos showing you how to do that. But this is how you install a pixel really, really easily. Okay, now for the context, and so that we don't get derailed from our topic, if you want to see how sales processes work online, specifically to ClickFunnels, watch my other videos. I've got a lot of videos on that. But that's how you install a pixel. Okay, now why do you want to install a pixel? When you install a pixel, now Facebook can actually track if a person has visited your page or not. They can actually track if they have bought. They can track if they have given you their name and email. They can track exactly their interactions with you. And that is how you can go deep, which we'll cover later on. And that's how you can get high returns on your ad spend as well. So finally, one of the things you want to check to make sure that you've installed your pixel correctly is utilizing this free Google Chrome plugin called Pixel Helper. And how that works is you just need to go to Google, type in Pixel Helper, and on my Google Chrome, you can see that if you were to type in Pixel Helper, you can see that there is a Facebook Pixel Helper Google Chrome. And basically when you install this, I already have mine installed. Anytime you go to a page, you'll be able, you see this little icon over here, you'll be able to click on it, and you'll be able to see that your Facebook pixel has been installed. Okay, this is how you actually check to see if your pixel is installed. So this is the first step. So this is, for example, one of my sales processes. It's basically a webinar that runs every hour on the hour. It's about 56 minutes to 7 p.m. And to check, you want to install Pixel Helper. Okay, so this is the first piece. The first piece, the most basic part of Facebook ads is making sure you have a pixel installed. Till today, I am appalled by some digital marketers, or rather marketers who are handling Facebook for other people, and they don't even have a pixel installed, right? Their Facebook ad strategy is basically boosting posts, which, anyway, I'm not gonna bash these marketers, but this is the most basic thing. Okay, so feel free to pause throughout the video if you feel that you needed to kind of screenshot and just kind of follow doing this along together with me. But this is the beginner level. Okay, we're gonna deconstruct these different skill sets when it comes to Facebook. And yes, we are gonna cover all these skill sets in this one video. So if you are serious in going from beginner to expert, make sure you really watch the entire video. Okay, do not skip portions. Let's talk about tracking next. Now, when it comes to tracking, what we need to understand that the whole purpose of us installing the pixel was so that we can track. What are we tracking? And what are the 3 jobs of Facebook pixels? Okay, the first one is to track for conversions. You see, when your pixel is installed, you want to track how much are you paying for a conversion. Now, what is a conversion? A conversion could be somebody that buys your initial item for your free plus shipping. How much are you paying for somebody registering for the webinar? how much are you paying for somebody booking for an appointment. To track every single step of your sales process. And to do that, you need to have your pixel installed, which you would have by now. But to track your conversion, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to exit this slide now. And again, I want to make it tactical so that you can see exactly how it's done as well. Okay, so remember we installed the pixel earlier, but right now what we're going to do is we're going to set up an event. Now, by the way, if this screen looks different from what you are seeing right now, understand that Facebook changes their UI like every other day. Okay, and it could look different, but if you understand the strategy behind it, the thought process behind it, it's just a matter of looking for where this button is, because the strategy will always be the same. Okay, the UI could be different, don't panic. And what you're really doing is, and by the way, this looks different from me as well. I'm just looking for it as I'm talking. But really what I'm doing is I'm going to manually add an event code. And your event, depending on your sales process, okay, and depending on the industry you're in, you could have a different event. It could be, if it's, you know, e-commerce, it could be an add to cart. It could be if somebody buys something from you. If you're selling a recurring, how much are you paying for a trial? If you're getting a lead, how much does it cost you to complete a registration? If it's for an appointment, if you're a salespeople, right, to schedule a call. So ultimately what you're really doing is you are tracking the conversion. So for example, in this example, I am showing you a webinar sales process, right? So in this webinar sales process, somebody registers for the webinar, and then after that it says, congratulations, you're in. Okay, make sure you show up on time for this webinar. So whatever it might be, all I'm really doing now is you want to go to the thank you page of your sales process, and you want to have a simple tracking code on the header of your thank you page. So for example, this is the thank you page of my webinar funnel, okay? And all I'm doing is I'm going to the tracking code on the header, okay? So if you're not on ClickFunnels, which by the way you should be, if you like to get free gifts from me, check out the description box below. I've got many different sales processes that's already built. All you need to do is swipe it, click on a link on the description box below. But over here, you notice this really short code. I'm getting this code from Facebook. All I'm doing is I'm going to Facebook, and I am going to get this code from Facebook, and I'm going to paste it on the thank you page of the step in my sales process, right? So when somebody registers for my webinar, they enter their name, they enter their email. The next step they go to is the thank you page that says, hey, you're registered, right? So what am I tracking? I want to track how much am I paying for a webinar registrant. And the way I can do that is if I have a conversion code installed on the thank you page of my sales process. Does that make sense? So all I'm doing is I'm installing that there. So your business could be different. Your business, you could be tracking for a lead. Your conversion could be buying for your book. It could be an add to cart. It could be a checkout. It could be a phone call. But that's why you installed the pixel, to track your conversions. Okay. Number two is you're tracking the pixel that you've installed. It is to build an audience. We'll talk a lot more about audience, whether it's custom audiences, lookalike audiences. That's more towards the advanced section, okay? But ultimately, it's to start building this warm audience, okay? To convert cold audiences, which is basically people who don't know who you are, they're not problem aware or solution aware, and you're starting to build up an audience of people who know, like, and trust you, people who have read your post, people who have watched your video, might have engaged with it, visited your site, right? You're building up this warm audience, and basically to optimize your campaign, which we'll talk about when we come into scaling, okay? But that's the purpose of tracking. So that's the second piece, to install your tracking code so that now Facebook knows exactly where they're at in your sales process. Okay, the one thing that's really crucial before I move on to the next part to understand is that Facebook wants you to make money. Facebook wants you to be profitable, because if you're losing money, it's only a matter of time before you stop being an advertiser, right? So Facebook wants you to make money, but in order for you to make money, you need to tell Facebook what you want, because Facebook doesn't know what you want. And you tell Facebook what you want by having the pixel installed, by making sure your conversion code is in place. And that is when we can move to the third part, which is conversions. Okay, now conversions based on your sales process. Now, what does this mean again? So what I saw a glimpse earlier was a simple sales process using a webinar funnel. Now, your sales process could be an application funnel. It could be a free plus shipping funnel. Now, I've talked a lot about sales processes in my other videos, but for the purpose of this example, notice that this sales process is basically 5 steps. Okay, notice that they register for a webinar, and then step number 2 is, hey, thank you for registering, you're confirmed. When the countdown timer ends, that's when the webinar will begin. A live webinar, this may or may not be a live webinar, right? It could be automated, evergreen webinar that runs every hour on the hour. It could be an actual live webinar that happens next Tuesday, okay? And then after that, on the webinar, I might offer something for sale, where I direct people to a checkout page, and then that's when they take out the credit cards and they actually make payment, right? So there are really like 5 main steps to this webinar funnel. Depending on your sales process, it could be slightly different. But once you have these installed, that is when you can track the conversions. Remember I talked about the conversions? So this is when you want to have these conversion codes installed on the different pages to give you better analytics, okay? It is not 100% essential, but conversions based on your sales process just means to be now aware that whatever sales process that you're using, you want to have your pixel installed, you want to make sure your conversion code is there, so that when we go to the advanced stuff, we'll talk about retargeting. Retargeting is going to be crucial when it comes to this step, okay? Once you have that, that is when you can use it to build audiences, okay? Audience building. Now, how do you build an audience on Facebook? I'll talk about the different type of audiences, okay? So inside Facebook, you will see that now if I were to exit and kind of go back to this main portion, it is basically, okay, let's go here. So this ads manager over here, let's go to the audience section. I just kind of need to zoom out a little bit. Let me kind of refresh this page. Which I'm having trouble zooming out with my trackpad. Okay, let me try to put it on a new tab. Okay. So in order to go to audiences, so the next thing that you want to be doing is notice that there is audiences over here. And again, okay, Facebook always changes their UI, so it could be somewhere different, but ultimately what you're looking for is audiences. And if you understand the strategy, then that's when it's evergreen, okay? So under audiences, this is where you want to start building different type of audiences, okay? Now, the first one here is to start thinking about who are the cold audiences. Now, this is the most basic level. Think about your product, program, service. What if you can target Facebook, the people that's on Facebook, based on their interest and their behaviors, based on who they like, the celebrities they follow, the pages they like, their interest, their behaviors. What if you can also target them based on their location? Okay, you can create an ad that targets based on where people live. And this is all under, we'll talk about ads after this section, based on their demographics, their age, based on whether they're friends of the people of your fan page, okay, friends of your fans. And finally, look-alike audiences, people that look like a specific audience. Okay. Now, all these type of audiences are basically people who don't know who you are just yet. So one of the things that you want to start doing inside Facebook is you are building these different audiences, and your lookalikes is how you scale. It is how you scale a certain campaign. So the framework is like this. The beginner portion is to install your pixel. Now you're tracking people. You're tracking them so that you understand what your conversions are, for whether it's for a lead, whether it's for a sale, whether it's for a call. And now you're targeting people based on their interest, based on their demographics, based on their location. Okay, so this is the simple part of Facebook ads. Okay, now when it comes to audiences, when it comes to running ads, I'll show you how that works to kind of summarize this part tactically. So when you run an ad, what Facebook will show you over here is they will ask you, what objective would you like to have? Okay, when you run an ad. Now, the holy grail, if in doubt, like when there's all these like brand awareness, traffic, video views, the holy grail and the benchmark of all ads is to start with conversions. Okay, I'll talk about when you should be doing what type of objective, but to start off, it's always conversions, right? So that you're, now what does it even mean? Remember, I told you earlier that Facebook wants to help you to make money, but they don't know what you want. Facebook has all of the data, right? They have the data on everything, who you like, the people you follow, and some really creepy stuff as well, probably. So in order for Facebook to give you what they want, what you want to optimize your campaign based on your conversions, right? Whether it's a webinar registrant, whether it's a buyer for a free plus shipping, whether it's a phone call, whatever it might be. So you start off with always with conversions. Okay, we'll talk about the other objectives later on. But let's say you start off with $100. What's going to happen after that is, and you can call these, remember the audiences that we talked about. Here's what I'm talking about. Okay, you want to target people based on demographics. Okay, so for example, let's say I want to target people who like Tony Robbins. So let's say you might have a personal development product. Now you're thinking like, who are the people? Where do they live based on their location? Okay, so it could be in a certain area. Okay. What are their age group, and what do they like? So if you are selling like green supplements, then you could be targeting people who could be into health and fitness, CrossFit. And if you go deeper, product names. Okay, if you are selling, let's say, a product on teaching people how to overcome the fear of speaking, then, for example, it could be like Toastmasters. Okay, so if let's say you are targeting, and the trick over here is to not just target people based on their interest and celebrities and authors, but also name of organizations or name of softwares. So for example, if let's say I want to sell my social media product or training, I could be targeting a software like HubSpot, right? So notice that Facebook has all the data, and this is what I mean by this section: audiences. Now the basic part is the cold audience based on their location, based on their demographics, their age, and what they like, their interest. Okay, so this is the most basic part of Facebook ads, as well as targeting, as well as conversions. Okay, so if you are ready to go to the next part, this is the advanced stuff. Make sure that you're really familiar with this first part first. Okay, it's about having a pixel, tracking them, understanding conversions, and running ads, targeting cold audiences. Okay, let's talk about the next piece here. Okay, we've talked about targeting. So the next piece here is what I call Dream 100 targeting. Okay, now this is something that I don't see many marketers doing other than my students. Now, Dream 100 targeting, this next portion here works like this. It's basically understanding that whatever market that you're in, there are authors, thought leaders, celebrities, people, thought leaders with a huge following, millions of people. And what if you could create a very, very specific ad that is laser focused to their followers only? Okay, so one of the things that I do inside the Dream 100 targeting, so to give you context to this Dream 100, it's basically, I believe this terminology was coined by Chet Holmes and then made popular by Russell Brunson and Dana Derricks. But ultimately, Dream 100 means that who are your Dream 100 that if you could work with them and have them promote your stuff, it would be a dream come true. Okay, so one of the things that I do is I have ads that is very, very specific to certain thought leaders, authors, and experts, where rather than, so remember this, rather than running an ad to a ton of different thought leaders and experts and authors in one campaign, what if you could just run one ad to that one person's audience? Okay, so for example, if let's say I sell a product that is in social media. So now I'm going to be asking, okay, who are the people who have a following that talks about social media that I can tap into their audience by creating a very specific message? So for example, let's say Gary Vee. Okay, now, so Gary Vee over here, there's like 23, the size over here is like 23 million people. That's a lot. Okay, now the common mistake people make is then now they chuck a ton of people in this campaign, when in fact this campaign alone, there's a lot of people in here. So what if I could create a campaign that pretty much says top 5 things I've learned from Gary Vee, and then I create a bridge to my social media product. And I actually have an ad that looks like this. Okay, and then I'm thinking about, okay, maybe Grant Cardone, how can I target and add a message to his following that talks about Grant Cardone stuff, and then create a bridge back to my offer as well. So think about your market. So let's say, coming back to like fear of public speaking. Okay, let's say you are a speaker trainer, and one organization that you could be targeting is Toastmasters. Okay, so you put in Toastmasters in here, because that would be a Dream 100 for you. Okay, Toastmasters International. And when you target Toastmasters, what you're going to do is create something that says, top 5 things I learned from Toastmasters, or how to overcome your fear of speaking. And then you could talk about the different principles from Toastmasters and create a bridge back to your offer. And perhaps you could say like, that's how I started. And one of the things that Toastmasters inspired me to do is to come out with this book to help shy, introverted people just like me and you to overcome this fear of speaking. So this book over here is free. All you need to do is cover shipping. And so what you're really doing, again, you're tapping into Toastmasters. Now, this could be a software, this could be HubSpot, this could be ClickFunnels, whatever it might be. This is the next level type of targeting as well as running ads. Okay, far too many people are not doing this. Okay, they're clumping a bunch of broad audiences and interests together, and without realizing that it actually weakens them. The more laser focused you can be with your messaging on your ad to a particular audience, the more powerful it's going to be. Does that make sense? So this is how you can run ads and reduce your costs of your ads, of acquiring a customer, of acquiring a lead, by making your messaging laser focused. Okay, that's Dream 100 targeting. The next one is retargeting. Now this is huge. Okay, now because you have your pixels and your tracking in place, let's talk about what retargeting is. Do you ever notice sometimes whenever you go on different pages and sites, there seems to be these ads that follows you everywhere, no matter where you go? Do you ever notice that? Now, the reason that happens is not because the advertiser is being overly aggressive, but rather it was because at one point in time, you either liked their post, commented on it, shared it, engaged with it, or you visited their website. And because you are pixeled in, they are now able to retarget you based on your sales process, right? So it's as simple as, just think about, I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this. You are on shopping on some site, you leave the site, and then all of a sudden, literally 10 seconds later, you see an ad for that site with the thing in your checkout, trying to kind of get you to continue from where you left off, right? So let's talk about how retargeting looks like by doing it together on Facebook. So how does it look like on Facebook? It looks like this. So now that your pixel is installed throughout the entire funnel, what you're going to do is you're going to start running ads and retarget them. Now, how do you do this? You do this by going to Facebook Ads Manager, and now let me show you how you can actually do this on Facebook itself. Okay, so one thing that you're going to do is, once you to retarget people, the next thing you need to do is, the first thing rather, is you need to set up a custom audience. Okay, now this kind of overlaps a little bit about the next thing that we're going to do, but what we're going to do is we're going to go to Facebook, we're going to go to audiences, we're going to go to custom audience, and we're going to tell Facebook, in order to retarget them, we first need to create this custom audience based on website traffic. Now, what does this mean? Okay, let me show you what this means. Now, what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to tell Facebook, if they visited a specific page of mine, okay, so let's talk about my webinar funnel that I showed you earlier, okay? Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell Facebook, if they visited, now I like to use 90 days for my retargeting campaigns as a rule of thumb, but here's how it looks like, okay? Again, understand this logically, okay? You understand this logically, it becomes a strategy that's evergreen. Now, what I'm telling Facebook is this: if they have visited this page and they didn't, go to the next step of my sales process, which is basically this, then help me create this custom audience. Okay, now, what does this mean? Now think about this. Do you think it's possible, take a look at the sales process, right? Do you think it's possible that somebody comes to my webinar, and does not register. Do you think that's possible? Of course, right? Probably 50% of people will not register. So I want to create a custom audience so that I can run retargeting ads to, so it follows them for the 50% of people that did not register. How can I tell Facebook that this is the audience? By telling Facebook, if a person visited this page, but they did not register and land on this page, I can now name this audience as visited but did not register. Does that make sense? Right? They visited the page but did not register. So now I will create a custom audience, and now Facebook will create an audience based on these parameters. Now, what I want you to be doing is to create a custom audience based on every step of the sales process. Now, remember earlier I talked about the sales process. So earlier I talked about the sales process, which looks like this, right? Webinar registration, confirmation, live webinar. So next thing that I will want to do is to create a custom audience for people in between these two steps. Next step is, do you think it's possible that somebody registered for my webinar, but they didn't wait for my countdown timer to end, or showed up for my live webinar? Do you think it's possible? Of course, right? So then, same thing inside over here, okay? It would be the live webinar, and the live webinar is this link over here. So same thing, I'm going to tell Facebook, if a person didn't land on the live webinar page, but if they registered, does that make sense? If they registered for my webinar, but they did not show up, so this would be called registered but did not show up. Does that make sense? So this is for the people that's on this step. Now, based on the steps they're in, this is when I can run ads to these custom audience. I can, from the people that's in between the step 1 and 2, I would be like, my ad to retarget my audience, to move them on to the next step, would be like, hey, it's Peng Joon here, and I noticed that you registered for my webinar, or you visited my page, but you did not register. Did you get busy? We don't run these webinars often. Click here to join us for our next webinar. For the people that meet this criteria, which is basically they confirmed, but they didn't show up on a live webinar, this ad would be, hey, this is Peng Joon here, and I noticed that you registered for the webinar, but you didn't show up. Did life get in the way? Did you get busy? When I was running my webinar, I didn't seem to see you there. Now, this is going to freak them out, okay, in most cases. We're like, how does this person know? Big Brother is watching every move we're doing, okay? It's called retargeting, okay? So same thing here. Do you think it's possible that somebody attends the live webinar, which is this link over here, but they did not show up? 100%, right? Do you think, or rather, do you think it's possible that they showed up, but they didn't buy? Of course. So I'm just gonna put in, the checkout link here, right? Because I think now you're starting to see this trend, right? So then I would call this, so I will create the audience, and this would be showed up, but did not buy. Does that make sense? So now I'm creating a ad to move people to the next step. Now, because this ad is to such a small audience, laser focused based on where the ad, it means that it becomes super cheap. Your ad cost is low. You don't have to spend a lot of money. And this is where the money is. You're no longer targeting millions of people that could inflate your ad cost to tens and thousands of dollars if you choose to, right? And that's when it can go wild. but rather because now you're creating such specific laser focused messages to people that's specific in your sales process, to an even smaller audience that's super targeted, just constantly moving them to the next step. That's when your ad costs are low with huge returns. Same thing here. Do you think it's possible that a person goes to the checkout page? So let me give you an example, okay? Do you think it's possible that they go to the checkout page? So for example, they attend the webinar, okay? And then after that, on the webinar, I asked them to go to the checkout page. Do you think it's possible that they came here to the checkout page, but they didn't buy? Also possible, right? This is known as a cart abandonment. So based on this, that is when I can run a testimonial based ad and run testimonials to talk about how great that product is. That is when I can run an ad that looks something like this. Looks like this. Okay, for example.
Hey, Molly here. I just wanted to quickly hop on and share a little bit about proven presentations with you. So I signed up for Peng's proven presentations, and I have seriously taken so many webinar trainings, and I was like, do I really need another one? Am I actually going to learn something new with this? Like, I was super hesitant to sign up, and I clicked the button because like I know that Peng just adds so much value. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And here's the cool thing. I was able to crank out a brand new webinar start to finish in one night. He makes it so easy, done for you, simple. He gives you the actual templates to follow and then a video that you play and pause as you go with each slide. And I was able to crank out my webinar presentation in just one night, when normally it takes me, days or weeks to do something like that. And lastly, I was actually able to double my close rate on my last webinar that I did with his strategy, which is huge. Because like I said, I've been doing webinars for years. So if you're on the fence thinking if you should be taking this or not, the answer is yes. Peng is one of the absolute best teachers out there. He really genuinely cares about his students, gives tons of value, and you are not going to regret signing up. I'm telling you, if you can get your webinar done and get it profitable, if that's what you need, this is definitely the program for you.
Okay.
So hopefully I'll get to see you inside because, I'm one of the students.
Okay, pause 1 second. Okay, so now what if I told you that this video here would be an amazing Facebook ad, but you will never see this ad or this post on my Facebook page? Now, why is that the case? Here's why. You see, I want you to imagine this, okay? Here's what most advertisers are doing. They're taking a testimonial-based ad video like this one, and then they're running it as an ad to cold audiences, people who don't know who they are, and they're wondering why that ad is not performing. You see, this ad here makes me a lot of money, but this ad is not shown to the cold audience. This ad here is used as a retargeting campaign for people that came to the live webinar but maybe didn't check out. Or maybe it's people who went to the checkout page but didn't actually take out their credit cards and actually finished the entire checkout process. That is when an ad would pop up that says, hey, this is Peng Joon here, and I can see that you attended my live webinar, but apparently you didn't take the leap, and perhaps it could be you're skeptical. And I understand that Molly here was skeptical as well, and because she's been to a lot of different webinars, trainings, but here's what happened for her after she attended our program and implemented, right? So if this video here appeared on some random person's feed who doesn't know what proven presentations is, who doesn't know what who Peng Joon is, that's when they skip the ad. However, because they understand, they're problem aware, they're solution aware, and they're product aware, they've been through my sales process, they understand what proven presentations is, bam, this is when this ad, something like that, can have a 10x ROI. Why? Because I'm targeting now such a small audience through retargeting this custom audience based on my sales process. So before you move on to the next step, if you're doing this together with me, in order to have a deep understanding of this step over here, it means that you need to create a custom audience based on every step of your sales process. Okay, so in this webinar example, it would be registered for webinar, a visited page but did not register, registered but did not show up, showed up but did not go to checkout, clicked on checkout page but did not pay. Okay, so based on what step they're at, I can craft my message, and this is when, like the last part here is when I can be aggressive with my messaging. That is when I can use testimonials, sizzle reels, and just rotate with social proof after social proof. I could use this one as my next ad. And then that's when I can rotate until.
Peng Joon, it's Matthew Ray here, and whoa, dude, I am blown away. Your proven presentations.
Right, so that's when I can rotate with, like, I've got hundreds of these videos, but you will never see me use them in my Facebook ad campaigns because it doesn't belong there. It doesn't belong to running it to cold audiences. It's only used for retargeting. Okay, so don't be like what most marketers are doing, which is using sizzle reel videos, testimonial based ad videos for cold audiences, but rather use it for custom audiences. Okay, next piece is, oh wait, we need to go back to, because I went back to just kind of show you the custom audiences. So we talked about retargeting and doing on Facebook. We talked about custom audiences. And ultimately, from there, what you're going to do is create lookalike audiences. So one of the ways to, as you start scaling, lookalike audiences is, remember, Facebook has all of the data, and you want to be able to start expanding who it is you're targeting by creating lookalike audiences. And the main principle for lookalike audiences is this understanding that if you put gold in, you'll get gold out. If you put crap in, you'll get crap out. Okay, so gold in, gold out, crap in, crap out. So what does this mean? It means this. Depending on the level you're at, the first type of lookalike audiences that would be the best is if you have an existing group, an email of buyers. So if you have a decent sample size of your buyers on email, you can actually give it and upload it on Facebook and tell Facebook, hey, create an audience that looks like this current audience, right? So gold in, which is buyers, gold, you'll get gold out. So Facebook will be able to tell, based on their friends, who they are, where they live, their income levels, their occupation, all of that, they're gonna give you an audience that looks like that. Okay, so if you have a huge sample size, it gives Facebook more parameters, more data points to work on, and they'll be able to give you a better sample. That's your first type of audience that you should be creating and giving Facebook as a lookalike audience. I'm going to do it together with you on Facebook in a second. Okay, so here's how it looks like. So on Facebook, the next thing that we're going to do is under audiences, we can create a lookalike audience. Okay, so notice I've got all these different lookalike audiences. And here's how you can create these different lookalike audiences. So to create a lookalike audience, you first need a source. Okay, now your source could be an existing custom audience that you have. And this could be your customer list. This could be based on your website traffic. Now, the number one, like I said, gold in, gold out, right? So number one would be definitely your customer list. Now, this is when you can import and upload a file that includes the lifetime value or all just the emails. That's number one. That's the first type of lookalike audience that you should be uploading. The second type of lookalike audience that you should be uploading are leads that look like the people that gave you the name and email. So if you've done some lead gen in the past, remember, gold in, gold out, use that as well. If you've done live events and you have emails of the attendees or people who have attended a live event, then you want to start attracting more people like them, upload that list. So lookalike like your buyers. Second one is lookalike like your leads. After that, the third one, again, it's going down the value. It's going down in value, but the next one could be based on your website traffic. So it could be based on a specific website. Okay, so now I could be telling Facebook, now that your pixels installed, create a lookalike audience of people that has visited one of these my sites, proven presentations. Okay, so now Facebook can now create a lookalike audience of people who have visited my page. And then after that, a little bit less value now would be if they watched my videos, or if they are a fan of my Facebook page, and if they've engaged with my page, right? Either they visited my page or engaged my page. So I could call it, I could call them lookalike audience, people engaged, right? So all I'm really doing is I am creating different type of lookalike audiences based on how hot they are. Hottest being buyers, second hottest being leads, third one being website traffic, and then after that, it would be like if they watch my video, if they like the page, and that's how you strategically grow your lookalike audience. Okay, that's how you create and scale your campaigns. So scaling is under expert. Okay, now I believe that before you move on to the expert piece, it is about getting these pieces right first. Okay, so basically, before we move on to expert, it is understanding, have your foundation right. Pixels installed, you're tracking them, you're understanding conversions, you're understanding audiences, and then you move on to advanced by crafting specific messages for the people in your Dream 100 to your offers. You're retargeting them based on your sales process to move them to the next step. You're creating a custom audience as well as lookalike audiences based on whether they're a buyer, lead, or website visitor. And then after that, finally, the last piece is in scaling. Okay, now scaling itself, this is where I can like literally spend a 3-day workshop on this. And I'll probably leave like the in-depth stuff on other videos. But to give you an overview on scaling, this is the overview of scaling. Okay, the game plan. Okay, remember there's cold audiences and warm audiences. On the left hand side over here, warm audiences are basically based on your data, people who know you. This could be your subscribers, these could be your fans, people who visit your sites, these could be people who liked, commented, and shared on your Facebook page, is basically engagements. Or it could be based on Facebook's data, cold audiences, people based on a certain location, based on what they like, their interest, based on their behaviors, or based on third-party data. Okay, so in order to scale this, you want to create lookalike audiences based on either your data or Facebook's data or both. Okay, that's a typo in there. Okay, so the first one we talked about was the customers lookalike. Lookalike, like your customers look alive, right? So you want to look alive. Okay, based on conversion. So these are just different things that we talked about. Lookalike like your fan page, lookalike like your website visitors, lookalike like your engagement. Okay, so this is how you can create all these different lookalike audiences. And the way you build up this process, your audience building, is to test based on different audience behaviors, based on their interest. That's how you started off, remember? Based on who they like, where they live. And then after that, number 2 is based on their fans, on your fans, as well as custom audiences. And then after that, it's lookalike. So that's how you scale. So I want you to kind of understand that there's a system and a process to that. So right now, if you are totally new and you are a beginner, which chances are you begin with step 1 because you don't have any data yet. So you're going to start off with Facebook's data based on their interest, their behaviors, based on their demographics. When you start getting a warm audience and you start building fans and people who like your stuff, and that's when you can start creating custom audiences. And then after that, you scale by creating lookalike audiences so they can get more people in it. So be prepared that it could be very well your first case of $500 to $1,000, what you're really paying for is Facebook data. Okay, sometimes when I go into a brand new market, brand new niche, the first $1,000 I'm paying, it's for education, understanding the market, right? Getting the pixel matured. Because when you mature the pixel, that is how you get more and more specific data to run better ads. Okay, so the expert part of this is this. Okay, I'll probably, well, definitely be creating specific videos on these different sections, but how do you scale? If you have a campaign that's able to make $200 by spending 100, what should you do the next day? You want to spend more money, right? So the way you do that is there are 5 different pieces to this. Okay, the first one is audience scaling, and that's basically just targeting more audiences, being broader. Second one is what I call broad scaling. Now, broad scaling is not for all markets. Broad scaling is literally where you don't even tell Facebook what their interests are, and it's purely based on where they live and their demographics. That's it. Now, this can either, it's totally risk, it's high risk, by the way. This is only really, really great if you have an offer that is of mass appeal. Okay, usually business to consumer. That is when you can, because Facebook has all the data, and if you're optimizing based on conversions, that is when you can tell Facebook, look, just based on this alone, go find me based on what you think will give me the cheapest conversions of a sale. Okay, so when you give Facebook close to no restrictions, and you don't even tell them their interest, and you go broad, again, this is super high risk. This is only great for mass product that has got mass appeal. Okay, you could try broad scaling. Number 3, of course, is budget scaling, just strategically increasing your budget by about 10% every 5 days or so. Okay, increasing your budget. Location scaling, trying off different locations, maybe a different country, a different city, and scaling it with a different place. And number 5, just duplicating your campaigns and your ads, and kind of let Facebook's algorithm do the work by just duplicating the campaign. Okay, so from a broad perspective, these are 5 different ways to kind of scale a campaign. And to kind of show you one last thing, remember at the start I said when you run an ad, Facebook will ask you what is your objective. So the objective is, let me just go to the ads manager. The objective is when you create a new ad. So I did say that at the start you want to start with conversions. Okay, now that you've learned the more advanced stuff, here's what some other stuff that you can do. Okay, when do you change your marketing objective? When you have your retargeting ads up, your campaigns up, the next thing that you can do is, because usually it's very profitable, you can run it based on traffic. So traffic is when you have a solid offer and your conversions are in place. You just want Facebook to send you as many clicks and as many people as possible. So for your retargeting ad campaigns, sometimes one of the things you can do is to go for traffic, but you always begin with conversions first. Okay. Now, when your ad campaign is a little bit more matured and you've got data, that is when you can spend money on campaigns that will always lose money on the front, which is basically things like video views as well as engagement or brand awareness or reach. So one of the things that you can do once you have ads that's starting to make money is you can run ads to boost your content on your page to build up that warm audience. Okay, so what does this mean? It means to kind of paint you the big picture. If let's say I have an ad for that product teaching people how to overcome fear of speaking, I will create a video that says 3 steps on how to overcome stage fright. Okay, when I post it up, guess what happens? Nothing happens. Nobody's watching my video. So now I'm going to boost it for video views to raise awareness. I could perhaps spend 10% of my total ad spend budget that I know chances are it's not going to make money for me on the short term, and I'm going to run it based on video views. I could choose to spend like $100 for it, and I'm going to tell Facebook that if they like, I don't know, if they like speaker trainers, if they like the Toastmasters again, okay, if they like Tony Robbins, if they like, you know, public speaking, you know, then run, and I could change my location. Okay, it could be more different countries, but now I'm running video views to this video here so that I can create a custom audience later. Okay, so right now, imagine I'm spending $100 on this video, and let's say from $100 I get, I don't know, 10,000 views. Okay, now a view is only considered somebody who's watched it for 3 seconds. What I can do then is I can go back to audiences, okay, and now create a custom audience of people who have watched that video. So we're gonna do this together, okay, so that you can start seeing like this is exactly how you can scale. So custom audiences. Remember we talked about custom audience. So this time it's gonna be based on video. I can now create a custom audience, and I can tell Facebook if somebody has watched at least 50% of my video, and I can choose which video I want. So let's say I'm saying, okay, if they have watched at least 50% of this video, okay, and let's say this is the video that is the how to get, you know, past your fear of public speaking video. I'm going to tell Facebook, okay, out of this 196,000 people, how many people watch at least 50%? Okay, in the last 365 days. So I would call it like, you know, fear of speaking watched 50%. Does that make sense? So now I can run an ad to people who has watched at least 50% because I know that they're interested, and I would say, hey, I noticed that you watched my video on how to overcome your fear of speaking. Is getting past your fear of speaking something that you're serious about? If so, I have a free training called Proven Presentations, which is a live webinar that's happening really soon to share with you 3 secrets on how you can take your voice, your message, and change that into an actual business, into a real career, to do something that actually matters. Click on the link below to join us for this next webinar. Now, this could be a free plus shipping product, this could be a live event, whatever it might be, right? So now this is how I can create custom audiences for people who have watched my stuff. So this is how you scale. You scale by doing all these different steps strategically, okay? By creating more lookalike audiences, by having more interests, and yeah, this is the big picture, okay? I would love to hear what your main questions are. Let me know if there's anything that I left out here in this video, or if you're stuck on anything specific with Facebook. Let me know, or what your biggest takeaway is, or how you feel this thing will make a difference in your current business and your campaigns. I would love to hear your thoughts. I read your comments all the time. And as always, if you love this video, please click on the subscribe button for more videos like this. This is Peng Joon, and I hope this video has given you value, and I will see you in future videos.